Welcome to Project Broker Week 2. You guys, today we're going to be covering one of the most important things of our business, and that is how to work with investors, how to find the right one, and how to build a relationship to where you can build a business like we did over a 20-year period, where we have a lot of very dependable clients, relationships that we built over the years, and also have helped kind of groom investors to buy different types of product so we can do optimal amount of transactions. The reason that we do the volume that we do, where we're doing a couple hundred deals a year with investors. Typically, we're doing close to $250 million a year in purchases and resales. And it's because the relationships that we built, not just finding the magical deal, throwing it against the wall, selling the deal. It's about finding the right client that has the same goals and then working smart as we're tracking deals and looking at deals and pairing the right client with the right deal so they have the most amount of success and we have the most amount of success building out our transaction business. And so we're going to dive deep into tonight on types of investors, the ones you want to focus on to where you can build a multiple income stream or build multiple commissions on one deal, building your client list, packaging, listbacks. These are all things that we're going to go over because they're the services that really cultivate the relationship. And so it's all about getting to know your client, understanding their needs, and then how to work with them. You will do more transactions if you build relationships with investors and understand their goals. As a person that has wholesaled hundreds and hundreds, thousands of deals, and a person that has sold directly to builders, flippers, on-market deals, off-market deals, whatever it is, I can tell you it's never been a mass marketing campaign. We don't just find a name, find an email, find a deal, and just spam out our properties. As real estate professionals, we're not mass marketers. We are salespeople that meet with our clients, find, listen, understand their goals, and then put the right property in front of the right investor. And that's how we transact. Because if we can get the investor the deal that gets them to their goals faster, it allows us to transact at the highest possible level, but also develop the client to where they can keep growing with us and really start to do more and more transactions. One of my favorite clients, Leica, who many people know in the Pacific Northwest, we met nearly 15 years ago, and she had just started her real estate journey. And she had purchased a property that from a company that kind of misunderwrote it, and she hired the wrong contractor. It was just all the bad things going down. And randomly, me and her had connected at our Heat and Daner Investor 101, and she was just a great person, someone I connected with well, and she was having issues. She called me out to go look at this project. And I typically don't go look at other people's projects if we don't sell it because we have our own clients to worry about. But I wanted to go take a look at it. And when I met out there was just all sorts of bad going on. She had hired the wrong person, total scumbag. The people that sold her the deal kind of inflated the values a little bit too much. And I genuinely cared about her, helping her get out of that deal, even though we didn't sell it to her. And because she could see my care and my understanding and professionalism, we just clicked as a client broker relationship. And since that transaction that I went to that I made no money on, we have done 30, 40, maybe 50 deals with Leica since then. And she went from being a brand new investor that maybe would be doing one at a time to where she is developing properties, she's flipping properties. And it was about understanding their goals, showing care, and establishing that relationship. And now we have this mutual beneficial relationship with each other that we care about each other's goals, we care about each other's success. And that's where the success comes together. If I wouldn't have spent that time to build that relationship, she might have been a one transaction client. But by spending that time and getting to know her, understanding her goals, it turned in over 50, 40, 50 transactions with listings in there. And so always value the relationship. We are not here to throw mud at the walls as brokers. That's how you have a short-lived career. There's over the 20 years that I've been doing this, there's not very many businesses set up like ours. It's a hard business to run. And the reason it's so hard is we really genuinely care about our clients. And by doing that, that has allowed us to stay in business for nearly 20 years, whereas I've seen a lot of my competitors come and go. And it always comes down to, are you building that relationship for the long term, or are you just trying to do a cash grab up front? So, general investor overview, they're different than retail clients. And, a client is a client, right? They have needs, they have wants, and they have goals. The goals and needs just might be different with investors versus a retail buyer. A retail buyer is going to be looking for a property that meets their lifestyle goals, their budget goals. Are they living in the right area where they have a community around them? Are the schools good? There's so many other factors that the house has to a retail buyer that they need to walk through and really look through because they're making a huge investment and that's where they're going to make a lot of memories and, possibly have families and grow. But it's a different type of sale. With investors, it's the same general purpose, but it's for a different type of goal. It's not about growing their life and lifestyle of where they're going to live. It's about growing their lifestyle and their life by doing transactions to create revenue. And so investors, they buy math and they buy deals based on their resources and what they're good at. A homeowner is looking for something they can create memories on and really have a great investment for their family down the road. But investors are not all the same. Buy boxes are different. What I buy is going to be different than what 99% of people buy in the Pacific Northwest. We buy a lot of really tough projects, a lot of tough construction plans. And the reason we do that is because we can invent returns that are much higher by putting in the hard work. Some investors buy only turnkey properties. Some investors want to be in specific locations. Every investors are different and the buy box is different. And the more you understand their buy box and what they're trying to accomplish, you can pair the right deal with the right client and get 3 times more transactions done, if not 10x more transactions done. For example, I buy a lot of properties. I'll buy in most locations of Seattle or Washington State. I'm going to be the most aggressive in specific neighborhoods of Seattle. I like core, nice Class A neighborhoods in Seattle, older fixer homes. I like the East Side. I like Snohomish County, and that's where my teams can execute on. The reason I like that, that's where my construction guys are good at. That's where my cost makes sense. I will buy a deal 3 hours away if it's a great deal, but I'm going to want to get it a lot deeper. So the more you understand the investor's buy box and the more you are on what they want to buy, the higher they're going to pay and the more they're going to transact. Investors pay different money for different types of property, and you want to find the right investor that it fits the right goals, and that's how you transact. The more you know about your investor's goal, the more transactions you're going to do. Where are they trying to be in 1 year? Where are they trying to be in 3 years? Where are they trying to be in 5 years? What's their passive income goals? What's their monetary income goals? Are they trying to quit their 9 to 5 and create income? Where are their teams at? Where do they live? What are they good at? What kind of leverage do they take on? And these are things that help us understand what the investor's trying to accomplish, not just today, but in 5 years, and why a deal could be really good in 5 years for them and not just about today. And so the more you understand their goals, the more you can plan ahead, the more you can look at deals and the way you can position a deal that helps get to their goals. Investors are unique in nature. They don't buy all the same properties. I have plenty of clients that buy deals I would never buy. It's not what I'm going to be good at. I have clients that do large short plats where they'll take an acre of land and put 10 houses on it, maybe even more. And they go through a very long permit process. They're track home builders. They have a production team that's good at controlling their costs, taking it all the way through from raw land to permit, the build, and do it cost efficiently. We're spot lot investors. We buy single family teardowns. We either tear down, put a 1-for-1 on, where it's just a house in a new construction. We might add additional units, but we're in city infill spot investors. And so that doesn't mean that a deal on an acre of land isn't a deal just because I won't buy it. That's not what we do. It could be an amazing deal for the right client. And so you want to expand your buy box based on in your client reach based on the deal flow that you're seeing in your market. You got to reverse engineer that. And we'll talk about that more in week 3. We market and target deals that we know our clients are looking for. If we can do that and pair the right client together, that's how we transact. Relationships are key to building long-term partnerships. You want to understand and really get to know the client. The more you understand and the more you value that client, the more they're going to value you. They're also going to value your advice and opinion more. And the relationship, sales are built on trust, delivering what you always say you're going to do, understanding and listen to their needs, and then delivering that product. That's how you transact. I hear brokers all the time going, yeah, I tried working with investors. I sent out 20 deals and they wouldn't buy them. And I can tell you firsthand that happens to me all the time where I meet some brokers in a specific market. I say, hey, look, I'm looking to buy. This is kind of what I'm looking to purchase. I'm looking to be in these locations. I want to be in these price points. And they go, okay, cool. So you're an investor that flips houses. That's all they hear. Then they send me 20 properties that had nothing to do with what I told them about or barely remote. That's not going to make me transact because it's not what I want. And I may look at buying that deal, but I'm going to offer a fraction of what I would offer if you just sent me what I wanted. And so listen to your client, understand their goals. That's how you transact. Investors want you to listen to their needs and goals. They want to be heard. Don't just listen to, hey, I want to buy and send them crap. Not how this thing works. What do they want? What are their goals? Position the properties in a way that helps them with that. Listen to what investors are looking to purchase. Listen, you guys. It is very, very important that you understand the goals, what they want, and that's how you transact. Pairing the right investors with the right opportunity will maximize your deal flow. A good example of this, there was a builder out of SoCal that I had met with and brought up to the Pacific Northwest. Buy box was really big. They would buy all sorts of different types of product. But there was an A product they wanted, a B product, and a C product. The C product was like, hey, we just need more deals. We'll take these types. What we noticed after working with a month is we couldn't really transact that well on C and B because they weren't that competitive. The people that really wanted those lots were outbidding them. And so we narrowed our focus on the A product, the stuff that they really, really wanted, and was able for us to triple our transaction rate that what we were doing on the B and C. And so we got rid of the noise, the B and C. We focused just on the A, and it created nearly 80 transactions for us and produced over $25 million in sales by just really focusing on what the client wanted. And by doing that, pairing the right client with the right deal, we went from barely transacting to transacting 2 to 3 deals a month. And so really understand their goals and what they want, and that's how you be successful. So different types of investors, there's all different types. You guys, a real estate investor can be classified so many different ways. But the ones that we want to focus on to expand our broker business and to create a pipeline of listings are your X factor investors. First one is your fix and flip investor. This could be anywhere from a mom and pops investor to institutional, but this is where flippers are purchasing a distressed or disrepaired property, renovate the property to increase the value and sell for a profit. So they purchase a property, they renovate it over a specific time. It could be 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, and then they list the property and make a profit. Most people know this. They see them on the flipping shows. This is a 2x transaction volume for brokers. The good thing about flippers is they can do a lot more volume and a lot quicker sales because to renovate a house oftentimes takes a lot less time than building a house. Who the clients are typically with fix and flip, mom and pops clients are going to purchase about 1 to 4 properties a year. This is where, as brokers, you guys, we have a lot of responsibility to find these investors the right deal. These are mom and pops investors, people that have saved up a nest egg with a 401k, or they've saved some money. They've been working at some sort of 9 to 5, or maybe their own business, and they want some financial freedom. And the reason they want to flip houses is they want to work a little bit less and they want to get more passive income. And so many, many times these clients are going to be doing one at a time, maybe two at a time. And they may develop into a client that does more than that, but that's going to be their typical, volume. And there's many, many benefits to working with mom and pops investors. You guys, they're actually my probably favorite clients. You have the best relationships. You get to understand your goals and you really get to connect with the person and help them guide them to their financial freedom. And so a lot of times they're going to value that relationship more than some of the larger buyers. Professional investment companies that purchase volume projects. You go from mom and pops that are going to do maybe 1 to 2 a year. Then you have more of a professional investment company, similar to myself. We have a development company called Limelight Development, and then we have a flipping business. We purchase on average about 50 to 60 properties a year to flip or develop. Currently, we have over 25 million to 30 million in active construction projects going on right now. We are investors that are experienced. We're seasoned. We've been doing it for 20 years. We have large lines of credit. We have high liquidity capacity. And if I wanted to go buy 10 deals tomorrow and I had the right teams that could run them, I would go buy them tomorrow. And the benefit to a professional investment company is we don't run out of cash typically. I can always come up with a way to fund a deal if I want the opportunity. Whereas your mom and pops investors, they're going to do one deal, maybe two deals, and they start running out of capital. They got to focus on those projects and then resale. The professional investment company are great for brokers because not only that, we understand the list back market, we understand the relationship. And as a big buyer, one of my core principles is always take care of my wholesalers and my brokers and to make sure that they are doing well like we are. The more invested I am with my deal finders and brokers, and the more they understand what I'm trying to accomplish, the more deals I get done. And for our broker side, we don't run out of capital, so we can always give an offer. Recently, last couple of days, I've met with three different brokers and two different wholesalers. One was a bigger company, one was a newer guy that just got started. And the benefit to those brokers and wholesalers that work with me, I work with all different types of people. I'll buy deals everywhere because I don't run out of capital. If that wholesaler A sells me a deal, well, wholesaler B can still sell me a deal because I can close on that. And so the benefit to larger companies is when these people are working a lead or looking at an opportunity, they can send me the address. I'm going to protect that address. No one's going to go to that. We're going to protect it out of our sales system and say, hey, look, this is brought to us by a third party. We're going to work with that third party. And then we will give them numbers on a house when they don't know quite what to offer. As brokers, we can do the underwriting, we can do the analysis, but sometimes we don't know what the right strike price is. We don't quite know what the rehab numbers are. Same with wholesalers. By working with these large companies, you can form partnerships to where I know that a couple wholesalers, brokers, they will send me every opportunity that they have. They're going to give me my information I'm requesting. I'm going to give them the highest number I can give them. And they know that baseline that they can negotiate with and what to do with that deal. And so it gives you efficiencies, it gives you guidance, and it really helps when you're working with a different wholesaler, broker, or direct to seller to get clarity in the numbers. Another benefit to larger investment companies and partnering up with them is we can close very quickly. If I need to close a deal in 5 days, I'll put up 5 days. Because we need volume, we'll get creative. We've had brokers call us and say, hey, we got this opportunity. It's competitive. They're looking at selling it off market. There's a couple other brokers bringing clients to. We'll put up real earnest money. I'll throw 100 grand in earnest money at a seller to make that broker's offer look even better. And so they'll do a lot of the back end underwriting for you, send you the numbers, and then as a salesperson, you can work on converting that sale. Another benefit to professional companies is if I buy 20 houses, you're getting 20 list backs over the next 12 months. And so they're a pipeline that never runs out. I buy in any type of market, whether the market's going up, whether it's going down, I will always be buying. When interest rates shot up and tripled, market had problems. People got freaked out. We bought more houses after rates shot up than we did 12 months before because there were so many opportunities out there. And so the professional companies get less spooked by market. They've been experienced, they've been through different types of market cycles, and they're always buying. So it keeps your pipeline full. So you want to have your mom and pops invest professional companies. Now, depending on the market that you're working on, there's a lot of hedge funds that are institutionally heavily funded companies that purchase specific type of property and product with a narrow buy box. And so what this means is what's the difference between a professional investment company and a hedge fund? Well, the professional investment company is ran by somebody that's more like me. It's kind of a mixture of the mom and pops and the hedge fund. I'll look at a deal, I'll get creative on the deal. The hedge funds have a lot more money than the professional investment companies, but they have a very, very narrow buy box. The reason they are beneficial to brokers is because once they narrow in on what they want to buy, they need to buy in volume. They're heavily funded and they will buy on a lot slimmer margins because they're all about cash deployed in a return on a big amount of money rather than a portion of the money trying to make bigger returns. And so when you compare the right product with the right hedge fund, it's where you can do a lot of volume. A good example is a builder that we were working with. They were funded by a hedge fund. They needed volume. It allowed us to sell them 50 lots over a 24-month period. We've had a large hedge fund that bought a specific type of single family house. It was very, very narrowed, but they would pay very aggressive terms, probably nearly double what I could offer as a professional investment company, maybe not double, but they would offer maybe 50% more, 30% more than I could as a professional investment company because it fit exactly what they were trying to accomplish. And so not every market has hedge fund clients. Seattle, Washington, Chicago, LA, properties that are located in cities with tough plans. It is not easy to do construction in major metro markets. There's a lot more permitting, there's a lot more delays, there's a lot more politics involved, and the costs vary dramatically. And so it's harder to control those costs in the bigger metro areas. The houses need a lot more reconfiguration to maximize them. A lot more thought has to go into each one of those deals. Hedge funds don't want to do that. They're doing volume. That's not efficient. Many times they're going to be in markets like Texas, Florida, the Sun Belt, Ohio, houses that are a little bit newer, cookie cutter homes that they can turn cosmetically with a very low amount of permits and get in and out of deals very, very quickly. It's all about that annualized return. And so you will see in certain markets that hedge funds will be buying. They don't buy in my market, but if you're in one of those submarkets, Texas, who's the buyers? What are they buying? Get to know them. And they're very, very professional. They have a narrow buy box. They are not going to buy something that's not in there. Don't send them junk. Understand what they want. Send them only those kind of deals. That's how you get volume with them. And so the best thing that you can do is locate one of those companies, ask your title rep who's buying in volume in our areas, meet with their acquisition manager. They're going to give you a format to send deals to, and they will get you offers that are competitive on the deals as long as you're getting them the right product. But don't send them the wrong product, because if you do, it bogs their emails down. They start to ignore you. If you don't listen, they'll ignore you, and then you get no deals. And you guys, one thing as we jump into flipping FAQ, I will say about clients. Some people just work with hedge funds. Some just work with big investment companies. Some just work with mom and pops. Some work with all of them. I work with all of them. What I can tell you is the relationships that are the strongest are typically with the large investment companies that are a little bit more localized, that I get to know the actual founders and the owners, and the mom and pops investors. They value relationships. Our bigger buyers, they're always buying. They value the relationship. They'll work with you. The mom and pops, they're going to value that relationship and value you, but then get hot and cold in the market. The big hedge funds, you want to have a hedge fund client, but they go hot and cold real quick. They will close the doors on a shop instantly when they think it stops working. And so for you as a broker to have that client that's always on the fringe that could shut the doors, you want to make sure that you balance it with all three different types of investors so you can do more deals and then also still get volume done. Because I can tell you, brokers that built their business just around hedge fund purchasing, they crush, they do great for a couple of years, but then once they stop, they got nothing to sell. And so always be working with all different types of investors. The more investors you have, the more you're going to execute. So flipping FAQ, let's get to know this flipper client. You got to know what they're looking at. So typically they purchase a property with hard money. That's where the investor is looking at a project. They're going to get a hard money lender. And we talked about this more in week 1 about that cost of that debt, where they are approaching a lender that's going to usually finance their deal, their purchase price, and their fix up with a portion down. Your typical hard money lender is going to require anywhere between 10 and 20% down of the total project costs. So that means if a client's buying a house for $150,000, they need $50,000 in construction. The client's going to have to put anywhere between $20,000 and $40,000 down. Now that hard money lender now is going to finance them back that $50,000 so they can complete the renovation. This debt is expensive. It's important for brokers to understand their debt because oftentimes, investors are paying anywhere between 12 and 13% interest and 1 and 4 points for that money. The longer their deal goes on, if you have a complex deal, the more the interest eats up the profit. And so by understanding the time frames and what your client's debt is helps you lead to higher transactions. Flippers purchase a specific type of properties in specific locations. That's where you get the highest amount of volume. So me as a flipper in the Pacific Northwest, I buy in King, Snohomish, and Pierce County. That is my core areas. We will buy in all three. I'm most aggressive in King, then Snohomish, then probably Pierce. I don't buy specific types of product. I don't want to buy properties on wetlands. I don't want to buy properties on hillsides. I don't buy properties where I have to deal with legal issues. I don't flip homes in Spokane, Washington that are 4 hours away, 5 hours away. It's not efficient for me. So each investor has a purpose in your market, in the neighborhood. And depending on how big your territory and farm is, and we'll talk about that in week 3, you want to narrow in on the investor that's transacting in that type of market. You don't need to talk to them all. You want to talk to the ones that you're doing business in the areas that you're doing business in. Because it doesn't matter if you find the best deal in the world and it's in Ohio and you call me to flip it, I'm not buying it. And so, you got to find the right investors for fix and flip with the right location. Experienced investors will dictate what the type of flip that they want to purchase. The more experienced the investor is, the more they know, the more they'll educate you, but they can take on more complex deals. In Seattle, I buy a lot of stuff that no one would touch: broken foundations, burnouts, squatter issues, all the bad things where we're reconstructing a house, or maybe we're flipping a house and carving the lot off. We can get very creative with our experience and time frame. It's good because we can take a deal that no one else thinks is a deal or might be too hard to execute on, and we become the executioners on those. Now, the benefit to working with more experienced investors is they can take on like more complex deals. The negative thing is I'm not going to take a very cosmetic renovation that's a very slim margin, because that's kind of more for the newer investor, and that's what they want to buy. They want to buy something a little cleaner, a little bit newer with less variance in there. But when there's less variance, there's less risk, there's the margins get compressed and you're buying a much tighter deal. And so depending on the experience, it's going to dictate what they want to flip. And so as you get to know investors, if you meet 10 new investors, don't go be looking for major fixers unless they have that construction experience. You want to focus on cosmetic deals, narrow that box. As you meet a bigger investor that can take on those bigger fixers, then you want to focus on them to get them that deal flow. There's a lot more inventory there. So finding a range of new to experience is going to help you buy, because it's going to open up different types of product. Cosmetic for the new people, maybe condos, maybe newer investor, cosmetic deal down in more affordable area might be a mom and pops investor, do the work themselves. I'm going to be the one that takes on the stuff that everyone's terrified of. So you have an investor for all types of transactions. Purchase requirements are minimum net profit and cash on cash return when you are talking to flippers. When I look at a property, my minimum return for our underwriting in our buy box is to make a 35% return in a 6-month period. Depending on market conditions, it might go down to 25%. If it's a little riskier, it might go up to 50%. But what that means is if I'm looking at a deal and I can invest $100,000, I want to be making 30 to 35 grand on that $100,000 in a 6-month period. Some investors go, hey, I will buy a deal if there's $100,000 in profit there, or $50,000 in profit. You want to know how the investor looks at it, because you want to know how to position the deal. And there's no right or wrong way. I'm a cash on cash person because I look at things returns. If I'm investing a certain amount of money, I want to make a certain return on that dollar. Some people like net profit because it's just simpler to understand. It's easier. They go, does it hit this box or not? Does it have enough room in it for if something goes wrong, I'm covered? And by knowing how they look at it, it's important because it's how you position a deal. If I got a cash on cash deal and I'm selling it to me, I'm going to say, hey, look, you got to invest roughly 100 grand with the construction lender. You're going to make 35 grand. That's a 35% return. That's what I want to hear. So if an investor wants profit, I'm going to say, hey, look, you can buy it for this. You can sell it for this. Roughly, there's about this much in profit after you renovate and pay for it. And so depending on what they want to hear is how you want to deliver the deal. Speak the same language they want to hear. Because if I say cash on cash return to the profit investor, they're like, wait, what's the profit? Or if someone says profit, I'll be like, well, what's the return? And so, you want to speak that same language. Then there's the builder investors. Builders are looking for inventory that they can take a raw piece of land or land that they can demo and construct a house or a new home or townhomes, and they construct a new unit on that piece of dirt and sell for a profit. The benefit to builders over flippers: A, they're a little bit more professional, they have more experience, but most importantly, you get to work smarter and they produce more income because builders' resale values are typically higher values, which mean higher commissions. If I'm selling a house to a flipper for 600 grand, they put 100 in, I sell it for 8, that's great. 800,000, I'm making $24,000 in commission. But if I took that same piece of property and a builder could buy it for 600 and then sell it for 1.5, I'm now making almost double the amount the commissions on the new construction as I would a flip. So I can do half the amount of new construction deals, even maybe a fourth the amount, and produce the same type of volume. The other benefit of working with builders is they're a little bit more professional, and they're a lot less emotional. Mom and pops investors, they get spooked. It might be their first time. They're learning hard lessons. You have to learn those lessons with them and feel that pain because you're dealing with your pain, your clients' problems. Builders are much more systematic and a little bit less emotional. They want to talk numbers. You can work through it with them. It's a little bit more of a professional conversation. The lots that in builders that you can target and add additional units for density are going to 3 to 10x your commissions. The more units, the more commissions. And so, depending on the market that you're in, in Seattle, we have a lot of smaller lots that we can add townhomes to. We can take a piece of land, let's say it's a 5,000 square foot lot, and maybe add 4 units to it. So we can sell the lot off for 600 grand, make your commission at 18,000, but then we can produce now 4 $800,000 townhomes. That's going to be a combined sale of 3.2 million in listbacks. If I sell a builder that doesn't do density and I sell them just a single family lot, you can't do the 4 units. I might sell it for 600. They might sell it for 1.8. That's half the amount of commissions is if I focus on the land that can produce more units. And so if you want to start working with builders and really increase volume, then focus on density. Density works in metro markets for the brokers in LA, Seattle, Austin, Boston, Chicago. That's where, as the more population, the more density you're going to get. That's what I would focus on as a broker. If I'm in a little bit more rural area, maybe I'm in Arkansas, I'm going to focus on single family homes where they're building one for one because that's typically what they're producing. There's a lot more land. And so you want to canvas what's the opportunity, what's the zoning, who's building what, and then work around what the opportunities are. The more density, though, the more money you're going to make. Now, common types of builders that you're going to see: single family, townhomes, and short plat builders. Single family, they're buying a house, they're tearing it down, they're going to permit a new one and resell it. Townhomes, they're going to take the land, go through the feasibility, create the highest density for that property, construct those units, and then sell them off individually. A short plat is similar to townhomes in density, except for it's on a larger piece of lands, and they're constructing numerous houses at the same time. I can sell an acre of land. If the builder can build 10 homes on it, then that gives me 10 listbacks. It's the density infill city investor that is more in the rural areas. So if you're in those large pieces of land areas, those big builders that are taking those down, that's where the volume can drastically increase if you want to focus on density. The beautiful thing about single family, though, guys, is we do a lot of transactions right now with single family builders over even townhome because, cost change, permit delays. There's a lot more factors in density when a builder's looking at to buy. And a straight tear down and rebuild is much simpler. So because it's a simpler plan, simpler process, there's a lot more buyers. It's a lot easier to transact. So don't just focus on density. The single family ones work really well. Plus, as you market to sellers, you're going to get single family, you're going to get density. You want to have both clients because whatever the zoning is, that builder's, single family and they put a townhomes, they're not going to be that aggressive. You find a density investor and builder that finds townhomes, they're going to be a lot more aggressive. And so each builder has a different purpose for the types of lots that you're working on. Rental investors. This is another little X factor that we're just going to briefly touch on throughout the course. So rental investors are looking to build passive income in retirement through acquiring properties to purchase, rehab, and rent out for income. Investors can increase their portfolio by facilitating a 1031 exchange. A 1031 exchange is when an investor has bought a rental property, they're making some cash flow, they get equity growth. And that equity growth they can use then to trade up for more units. So if I sell a client a house for $150,000, a Burr investor, they put $50,000 in the renovation, it's now worth $275,000. They refinance up their money. Now they have this rental here. But they also have a rental that has $75,000 in equity. That equity then can be sold, listed and sold, and traded into another building. So now the rental buyer has $75,000 more in equity you just helped them gain, which means they have $75,000 more in gunpowder, and they can take that initial equity and trade it for maybe a duplex. By doing that, the investor can increase their cash flow and they can maximize their equity by deferring the taxes. So when they sell that property, they don't pay $1 in tax because they're exchanging it for another property. The tax savings means they have a larger down payment. The larger down payment gets them into a more expensive property, and investors can start trading up their units and growing. That's how they scale and get to financial freedom. As a broker, if I'm selling my client a rental property, I run a CMA on those properties once a year for them. What is your equity position? What is your total cash flow? What is your return on equity? And is it smart to list the property and sell it? Now, when it is smart, we sold the property, a rental property. They may have it for 2 years. It's a little bit longer cycle, But I sold them a property 2 years ago. Then I'm listing the property in 2 years, and then I'm getting a purchase. So I get 3 sales out of this client over a 1 to 2 year period because I'm looking at it and trading it out and getting them to their end goals. The guys, again, that's why it's so important to listen to their goals. Where are you trying to go? And if you're buying single family rentals, it's a great way to start, but maybe that's not going to get you to your goal in 5 years. So by understanding their goals, I can call my client and say, hey, look, you have this much equity right now. If you sell it for this and we trade it for this, you're actually increasing your cash flow and equity position that's going to get you to that year end goal a lot quicker, or maybe your 5 year goal a lot quicker. If I can roadmap that for my client, it can make 3 sales. Rental investors can lead to 3 transactions over a 12 to 24-month period, where the sale of the initial investment, the listing of the property via 1031 exchange, and a purchase to new investment properties. And so for all those who want to know more about the 1031 exchange, make sure that you go into our recorded calls. We've had numerous speakers come on, talk about 1031 exchange, the process, and their services. They can help you get that client through the process. So make sure you check out those recorded calls. So building your investor clients, the data mining. How do you find the right clients? You guys, there are so many people out there that say they're real estate investors. There's so many people that want to be real estate investors. If I talk to 10 people, there's probably one real buyer in there. And so how do we find the right clients, and how do we focus the right amount of time in? If I'm going to spend time calling investors, I want to make sure I'm spending the time working on the right investors. So working with the right client, you'll never have to chase opportunities. Efficiencies and success will follow. And so what this means is, for us, as we're talking to investors, we don't work with every investor. There's plenty of them that we turn down because maybe their goals are different. They look at things a little bit different. They want to focus on the deal rather than the relationship. And that's okay. Do you? But that doesn't really fit in our system. We offer a high level of customer service. We really value our clients and they value our opinion. And we want to have that relationship and build. But as we meet these clients, we want to make sure that they're the right clients for the opportunities that we're also finding. Because if I have a client that comes in that wants to do large short plats in Eastern Washington, I don't really get a lot of deal flow there. It's not where my team specializes in, not really going to be a good fit. I don't want to spend a lot of time with that client because I'm not going to be efficient with my marketing campaigns. The ones that have the right goals and are the right client, if I focus my marketing campaigns and effort on finding that specific deal, that's why we are successful. We listen to the goals and we have the right client that values us and we can transact with them. So how do you find the clients? The first thing is, you guys, it's all about that data. You guys, there is thousands of data providers out there, and it's all about finding the right one. And we have some pretty big news coming out soon. We're going to be able to help you directly with that. But there's plenty of third-party providers out there that can provide you with investor information. Each one is unique and they vary in their own way. You need to research. We don't align ourselves with one specific company. And the reason we don't is, I do believe, as an experienced investor that's worked with all these platforms, depending on how you learn, how you operate, how you like to do your daily business, and what your capabilities are, you're going to go with a specific type of product and what you need. And, it's really important as you build out your broker business, what works well for you in your CRMs, what works well for you in your teams, what is the cleanest, easiest way for you to interpret the data. Popular data providers have all different types of services. You want to explore them. They all offer a test period. Check them out, see what works best. Just don't go with what everyone else is saying. Because I can tell you, I use Property Radar. It's a data provider. I think it's a little bit more simple. It gives us the information that we're looking for. I like it. It's easy to use for me. And, but it definitely lacks a lot of different services that maybe PropStream offers. PropStream's similar to Property Radar, but it has some extra functions. It's got CRM functions. It's got different types of reporting, different types of comping capabilities. It's a lot more robust, costs a lot more money, and it's a little bit clunkier to use. And so for me as an experienced investor, I don't need all the extra little bells and whistles. I built that out with my own systems. I just need a certain amount of data when I'm on the road or when I'm trying to target. Property Radar helps me with that, so it works well for me. For an investor that's just getting started or a broker that's just getting started, sometimes PropStream's a great tool because it has a lot more functions. If you don't have a CRM, explore those. Does it work well for you? Does it not? Do you not like it? Do you need all their bells and whistles? So test them all out. PropStream, Privy, Property Radar, Investor Lift. These are all data providers that you can enroll with that have different types of pricing. They can get you the information you look for to find clients. But pull the one that you work like best with. Again, I like Property Radar. Doesn't mean you should have to use it. A lot of investors do Investor Lift, you guys. It's a way to mass market deals. It shows you flip transactions. It's a lot more niche. It's fairly expensive, but it gives you really good buyer information. And so depending on what you want to build out, you can build it. So one thing though is you can always get this information also from your title companies. The data providers make it efficient, easy for you to pull, but they're really just aggregating the same information that your title company's getting through their search engines. A lot of title companies use something called Black Knight. And so, depending on what your costs are, what you need, that's going to kind of dictate how you pull lists. Most of the buyer lists that we pull, investor lists that we pull and talk to, we get right from our title company. It costs us like $10. I can give them specific criteria. They kick me back the list, the addresses. That's all we need. We don't need all the other bells and whistles. So depending on what you need and what you have, that's where you want to pick. Data providers can poll investors that have bought properties and sold properties in the last 12 months. That's the very beneficials to some of these providers. A company like PropStream, that you can pull any investor that had bought and sold a property or any area when you're pulling comps where they were, they'll pull you the comps of flip properties, what they paid for it, what they sold it for, all within the radius that you're putting in. That's really useful information for analytics and finding the right buyer. You can see who's buying and selling in today's market. I don't care who's flipping 5 years ago because they might not even be around. They might have switched it to rental properties. They might be a developer now, or they just weren't good at it and they're not buying anymore. And that's why they take project rate. But it's about having that good, clear data so you can see how much they're transacting. You can see the deals that they have through. And so opting for that extra data provider can be very efficient, cost a little bit more money. It's about how much you want to dig up. You guys, when you're in one benefit to this too is like in a large metro market, there's a lot of different types of deals going down. You can narrow in on the ones that built homes, that flipped homes in different price points, and it gives you a good list of and lead flow that you can target based on the opportunities that you're seeing. And so again, use the information, use the data, play around with all of them, see which one you like best, and then start targeting the right investors with the right subscription. It also benefits the data providers. It can pull information like purchasers that have used hard money loans to close their transactions, prices flippers have purchased and sold for, all within a certain time frame, comps of flipped homes. So the data providers will give you all sorts of information for finding the client and then also giving the analytics and analysis so you can show these investors that they're buying a good deal. If I have an opportunity that's 200 grand, it's worth 400, and I can pull 10 transactions of flip deals that flippers just paid for and they just bought for 205 to 220 grand, I'm showing my client that I'm getting them a much better deal. Or if I have clients that will only pay 200 for this property and the seller will go for 220, I'm trying to get the deal done. My clients won't go there. That data of, hey, who paid 220 for a house in this area or close to, let me call them and build that relationship because they might be the better buyer for the market than what my buyer is. So it's very, very useful. And so play around with all of them, see what you like working with, and pick the right one. You guys, on our business dev calls, we'll be bringing in these companies. So always be on the lookout on the calendar. They come in, they talk about their product, how to use their product, and to kind of feature it to you. Again, pick who you want, guys. Attend those Wednesday calls. It's all for business development. You get to see what you get to talk to the salespeople, see what it is, and kind of give it a free test ride to see if you like it or not, and move on to the next one. For data mining, like how to find investors and how to look for them, whether you're using a data provider or title company. So this is how we dig out investors. So when we're pulling a list, if we want to get new investors in the door, we want to talk to new people, we pull LLCs that have purchased and sold properties in the last 12 months. The owners have used hard money loans. Has anyone got a deed of trust from local hard money companies? We pull all the hard money lenders that operate in our area. We call our title rep and we say, hey, we want a list of properties with everyone that has a deed of trust from these lenders, or even if the deed of trust says private, we know it's a private money lender and it's usually not conventional. Those are people typically doing construction loans, doing value add, or investors that are taking down bridge short-term expensive debt to value and increase, to renovate and increase the value. So that list, you guys, when I send that over to my title company, it cost me maybe $20. And now I have a list of every investor in this county that took a property down with a hard money loan. Then I can take those addresses, look at what they're purchasing and classifying them as, and then I can start bucketing out these investors. If I'm seeing a lot of multifamily deals, value add in my specific market, and I'm trying to sell to a rental investor, I can pull that list of all LLCs that purchased them or any property that was paid with a hard money loan on multifamily. And that's going to tell me active buyers that are buying value add multifamily in today's market, which in today's market, that's a tough buyer to find. And so it's very valuable by tracking that, and it doesn't cost much. Sellers who sold properties with a current year built. That's another list I'll request from my title company. Who is a seller that sold a house in 2025? If I'm in year 2025, that means they built a brand new house. It gives me all brand new construction sellers, and it tells me I can start talking to those developers. The good thing about that list too is it's simple. I can tell you title reps already have that because they're already targeting new construction builders for volume business. They already know the people half the time. Your title rep can really help you get in front of these people and get you the right information. This is why I talk so much about building your team and your title rep in week one. Get to know your title rep. Make sure it's the right one that works with investors. You guys, not all title reps are the same. If you're a retail broker and you have a title rep that was kind of given to you by your brokerage or you kind of met networking, if that title rep is not special with investors or builders, you need to find the one that does. These title reps will understand your business a lot better. They'll understand your client's business a lot better, and they are plugged in with the networking. Title reps have lists of all new construction sellers. They have large flipper sellers. My title rep, that was my title rep today, came by my office probably 20 times to the point where I was like, stop coming to my office over probably like a 4-year period. So I've been, try to chat with me. Now that title rep, I ended up using him. He came in enough. I just started chatting with him. He made some major connections with me with some bigger builders, and that really enhanced my business. He listened to what I needed on my business. And what I learned was he wasn't it just title wasn't just about escrow and title services. It was about how can they enhance your business. And by switching to that title rep at Fidelity National Title, they never got me in the business, but they referred me to people, and our team landed the business that we probably did $20 million in sales with those clients. And so they're always plugged in, they're always networking. They can do the networking for you, and the right broker is in the right rooms, or excuse me, the right title rep is in the right rooms with the right brokers and builders where they can make the introductions and pull your lists. MLS keyword searches are another way that you can mine out investors. Data providers, you can get very granular on them. They benefit to be us being brokers. We have free access to the MLS. I can type in keyword search, renovated, remodeled, updated, permitted. That's going to give me everything that was renovated and sold in that area that I'm looking in. A lot of times, 70% of the time, that's going to be an investor that's selling that property. A seller who's an LLC seller, that's a list that we pull. If we have that LLC seller, we can see the house is fixed up. That's someone that renovated and sold the house, or a brand new house that was sold. These are great ways, as I'm looking at a deal in a specific market, if I don't have a buyer for whatever reason there, and I'm getting lead flow in that market, I can see who just flipped a house in the area, pull their information, take their LLC, skip trace their LLC, and then go through and call the client, start making my introduction, get to know them. And then the next deal that I'm seeing a lot of lead flow in the area will make it a lot easier to place because they just did a deal there. So once you've started pulling the information to these investors and you get your target list, it's not just about the size of the list, guys. Size does not matter with marketing. It's about quality. And you can have 1 million people on your list. I'm sure there's lots of investors or brokers and wholesalers that have email lists that are 10x what we have. Even we've been doing it 20 years, they've been doing it too. They just were mass marketing, collecting email addresses. We transact 10 times more than them because, again, our clients aren't just an email list. They're people we meet with, we understand, and we place the right deal with the right client. So understanding your investor's buy box is essential. What are they looking to achieve? And you as a broker, it's your job to deliver that or reset their expectations to get them something you can deliver. And so narrowing their buy box. The first thing I want to know as we're talking to an investor is, what is the profit that you expect? What is the return that you expect? If I'm talking to a new flipper and they go, hey, look, I want to make 100, my budget is I want to pay up to 250 on a house. I have up to 250, maybe 300. That's my budget with my lender, my down payment. And I want to make 100 grand on each one of those houses, or I'm not buying. That's not a real buyer to me. You can't really invest $250,000 in purchasing a house, lever it, and then make 100 grand. That's just impossible. That is the deal of the year that someone who buys one deal every 10 years is not going to get anyways, right? Someone's going to randomly fall into that deal that's doing volume. That's not worth my time. And unless they want to have a realistic expectation of what they can expect, I need to make sure that they can actually transact. I don't want to focus my energy on someone that's the expectations are so high, I can't get a deal done because then I'm just spinning my wheels as a broker. Also, when I have the right deal with the right profit, I know what to call and go, hey, look, I know you want a 100 grand profit deal. You said you want a little bit more cosmetic fixture, but I got one that's a $150,000 profit deal. It needs a lot more work. You're going to have a little bit longer, but it's 50% more return. Do you want to look at this one? Do you think you have the skill set to do this? And so knowing the returns allows us to place the deal with the right client and guide them in the right way. Also, you guys, when knowing their profit, the reason I want to know their profit is based on their budget and profit. It's going to tell me to guide them in certain areas. If someone wants to make 50% returns on their deals and they want to buy in Seattle, it's really competitive and the average deal is 30 to 35%, the bigger return can be achieved when you go further out. There's less competition. It's a little bit further away. And because there's less competition, sometimes you can get fixtures and you can get some extremely high returns out there. But I need to guide them. If they want that kind of return, they're going to have to do some work and drive out there to get that kind of deal. But if they want to stay in this location, they need to drop their return expectations. And that's why it's important to set the precedent, because just because they're the buyer doesn't mean you can't guide them to the right type of ideology and purchasing. So, what kind of budget and price point do you want to stay in? What can you afford? What is your risk tolerance? You guys, the more expensive the deal, the more risk there is in. I flip a lot of homes that we sell for 1.5 to 2.5 million. Requires a lot of cash, requires a lot of bodies, requires a lot of payments. Every month we're cutting checks for thousands and thousands, sometimes $50,000, $60,000 a month for hard money payments, if not more. Depending on their budget and price point, it's going to kind of tell me also where they can buy. If they want to go up to 500 grand, but they want to invest in Seattle, that's going to be hard to do. They might need to go 45 minutes south to get in that budget. They might need to go 45 minutes north. They might need to go 2 hours. And depending on what price point they want to stay in and type of product, I'm going to guide them to a specific area, because just because the client has an idea of what they can afford and where they want to buy doesn't mean it's the right plan for them. And so, these are why these questions are so important. Guide the client through, hey, based on this budget, we want to target this. What kind of condition property do you want to take on? Do you want cosmetics? Do you want heavier fixtures? What are your teams good at doing? Do you have construction resources? Do you have a contractor? What deals can you work on? Are you okay taking a bigger fixer if the return's 3x? Do you not have a skill set or the experience to take on a big project and you only need to buy cosmetic? I don't want to call a client and go, hey, here's a cosmetic fixer for you. Or I don't want to call a client that only wants to buy cosmetics, that's their only skill set, and say, I got a great deal, but it's a massive project. That's not going to pair up well. And if that investor goes into that deal because they see the return, they could drown on that project and it's going to jeopardize my lifts back and it's going to jeopardize them. And so knowing the condition that they're capable of is really important to push them into the right locations and the right deal. If a client wants cosmetic fixtures in Seattle, but they want a 35% return, that's hard to get. It's competitive. A lot of people can buy cosmetic fixtures. It's very competitive. There's a lot more buyer demand. I might guide them to a different area if they need more cosmetics. Or a lot of homes are old in Seattle. They require a lot more permitting. They're just built in the 20s rather than if I go an hour south, there are more tract homes that are built in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. And so I need to educate my client based on the condition and what they can execute on the areas that will produce the best product and most profitable for them. So they might need to switch up on how they're looking at their next investment. What locations and neighborhoods do you like to buy in? Are there deal breakers for you? What won't you buy? I do not want to talk to a client for an hour, half hour, get to know them. They tell me, I do not want to buy this, and then send them that deal right away and say, hey, what do you think of this? That means I'm not listening. That's how you get off the short call list really quick. So what won't they buy? What is the perfect deal for you? What are you looking for most? Condition, price point, location, profit. Give me your, let's put a bow on it deal. Based on that, I can then target the right way. What is the perfect deal for you? What are you looking for most? Are you only interested in renovating properties? Do you do any kind of development? Do you do development and don't do any kind of renovations? What is your current demand for property? Are you ready to buy today? Are you capable of buying today? What is your current pipeline? So then, as a broker, I can track where they're at in their buying experience, how profitable they're doing, how their deal's doing, and then get them the right deal at the right time. You guys pairing the best time to sell to a flip client is when they just sell a deal. They have cash, they have money burned in their pocket, they want to get into the next deal. That's where you're going to be more aggressive. If I have 40 houses going on right now, my team's maxed out, I'm a little bit, there's a lot going on. I'm going to be a little bit less aggressive when I'm looking at a deal because I need to focus on what I have going on. If I just sold 10 houses and I need to reload up, I might be a lot more aggressive. So, depending on where they're at in their buy cycle, will really help you as a broker transact. Always stay in front of when they want to buy, when don't they want to buy, are they on the sidelines? And if they're on the sidelines because they're working on a project, doesn't mean, I always ask the client to, like, hey, do you want me to just send you deals? I know you can't buy right now, but do you want me to just send you some stuff that we're selling off so you at least can see how we get numbers? While that client's working through that process, I get to really narrow their buy box down. So it actually helps me because I see them working on the project. They're telling me what's going on, and I'm seeing what they will bite on and not bite on to really narrow their buy box. So the more questions you ask your fix and flip investors, the more you're going to be able to transact. What's the return they want to make? What's the locations, the condition of the property? What are their deal breakers? And based on that information that you give them as a broker, guide them to where they can transact. A lot of times you guys clients come in with a different plan to me. I talk to them. I'm like, yeah, I know you want to do this, but what you're doing and what you want to do is actually really hard to do, or it's not really possible in this specific market, but it is possible over here. And so by understanding their goals, you can give them the right guidance as brokers. That's our responsibility. Give them the guidance that will get them to their goals. That guidance will also get you to a spot where they'll transact and be successful, and it builds a long-term partnership and transactions. So what's the difference between a builder and a single family fix and flip investor? They're both investors. They both buy property. They do a construction plan and they sell it for profit. Builders are similar to fix and flips investors, but often they're more experienced, a little bit more business professional. They started maybe as a fix and flipper, or they were working for a new construction company and they became developers, but they've grown up in the construction business, which gives them a little bit more experience. Oftentimes they're running it more like a business, a lot less emotional, but there's definitely pros and cons. The one major pro is builders value long-term partnerships. I will say many times when I'm talking to experienced builders, we're trying to find them the dirt that they want. They kind of understand, the cost. They understand the value of a good broker bringing them good dirt deals because a lot of bad deals get sent to them. And they have worked with so many people over the years that they kind of narrow in who they like and don't like. And the people that they like and value in the relationship, they're going to pick up that phone, call them back a lot faster. They're going to get them better numbers. They're going to get them tighter numbers. And so they value those long-term partnerships. There's plenty of builders that I've worked with for 15 years. We started off by selling them off-market deals. Then we're selling them off-market deals and doing the listings for them. And as they've grown, we've grown with them and done more and more transactions. They want straightforward terms, you guys. Builders are professionals, so they want an answer. They want to know what it is. They don't want to hear, hey, what will you pay for this? Do you like this? What do you think of this location? They just go, hey, what's the lot? What's the terms? What will the seller sell for? How long of a close can I get? They need those numbers to run their own analytics. They also are busy. They don't want a bunch of fluff back and forth. So straightforward. You always want to be straightforward with it. Often they stick to one type of product in geographical areas. So a good example is we flip and build. I, as the flipper part, my partner, Will Heaton, is the one that runs our development company, Limelight Development. I run the flipping company. As a flipper, I'll buy all sorts of different types of stuff that I'm not usually buying or in different locations. If I find a home run deal way up in Granite Falls, which is an hour and a half away from where I'm at right now, I'll figure out a way to get a team up there. We'll get it flipped because the margin's that good. Now, as builders, we build in Seattle core neighborhoods, I would say class A neighborhoods with value add product. We build for a certain price per square foot and build a certain type of product that we need to get a higher price out of it. If we went and bought a piece of land in Granite Falls, we'll probably lose money. We're not set up for it. And so builders, as a building company, we're very narrowed in the location and the product that we'll buy. As a flipper, a much wider range. And so they have oftentimes very specific geographical areas in with builders. You don't want to call them on stuff they don't want to buy or in areas that they don't really want. Going back to that example, that big client, A, B, and C product. B and C, not really where they wanted to be. A, they wanted to be in. We transacted almost every transaction in the A product areas. And so they want to stick to those areas, they'll transact. And when you find them an area or you find them a deal in the area that they're chasing, they will pay great money for it. And so, because they execute well, their teams, they're efficient. One reason builders don't want to stretch out is they have a lot more staff. The farther along their job sites are, the more they get stretched out, it can cause delays across the board. And so that's why they stick a little bit more specific. And so, builders are going to be a little bit more specific, a little bit more professional than a flipping company. But, there's a time and place for a builder and a flipper. Vetting your investor leads. As you start to work with fix and flip investors and builders, you guys, one thing, as you make phone calls and you start talking to more and more investors, going to meetup groups, not everyone is for real, you guys. You need to qualify your investors so you don't waste time. Wasted time creates wasted revenue. If I'm spending time with an investor that says, hey, I want to buy every deal that you have, I'm going like, who is this person? Do they have the funds? Do they have the capability? They're just trying to get every deal sent to them. And they might not even be a real investor themselves. They might just be a wholesaler trying to take your deal and sell it elsewhere to someone else so they can make a check. You need to verify who they are and what quality investors are, and are they for real? You don't want your deal getting sent out to numerous different people. You want to keep control on it. You don't want to be looking for deals where people really aren't going to buy. You want to find out if they're the decision maker. Do they have partners? Do the partners make the call and they're really just the guy out bird dogging it for them? And really, you should be talking to the partner on it. Because if you're talking to the guy working with the guy with the money, he might tell you something that the money partner wants differently, and then you're chasing your tail around. And so, do they have partners? Do they need that funding from those partners? Are the partners the decision maker? Or are you the decision maker? Are they pre-qualified? If investor comes and says, "Hey, I want to buy a fix and flip. I'm ready to go." They either have to have enough cash to buy that deal, or they got to be pre-qualified with a hard money lender. What will their hard money lender do? How much will they finance them? What's their budget amount? What's their liquidity position? If an investor comes to me and goes, hey, look, I'm pre-qualified. I got this hard money, private money lender. He said he's going to lend me the money because all they did was have a conversation. And he's going to lend me the purchase price and 100% of the fix up. He's a private money guy. And as long as the loan to value is low, he'll lend me 100% of it. The odds of that happening is pretty low, you guys. Many investors that are especially brand new are not getting 100% financing unless it's their buddy or friend. And so, for me, I'm going, well, you're going to lever this to the tilt because you don't have the capital right now. And if you don't have the capital right now and you're dependent on the hard money decision maker, not really you, and whether they'll lend you the money or not, it's hard for me to spend a lot of time on that deal flow because I don't know if they'll actually say yes because it's based on someone else's opinion, not theirs. And so those are things you want to know. Are they pre-qualified? Are they capable to buy now? What do they need to get to if they're not? That's why in week one, I talk about building those relationships with hard money lenders, sending them out, getting them qualified, keeping them through that process. What kind of budget and capital are they working with? You guys, this is a perfectly fine question to ask. People get shy about this. Now, you don't call an investor and go, hey, how much money do you have? And what do you want to buy? That's rude. What kind of liquidity do you have to use right now? What kind of liquidity have you allocated for flipping houses? What kind of budget and capital are you working with to flip houses? I need to know that because it tells me what kind of deals to send them and whether they can execute or not. If I have a client that's got $100,000 as a down to invest, but he wants to be in Bellevue, Washington, where the average purchase price of our deals are 1.2 million, that's not going to fly. And so I want to know their budget so I can guide them to the right deal and also send them opportunities that they can actually execute on. So narrowing your investors buy box with builders and developers, right? We talked about flippers. What's your location? What's your liquidity? What's your experience? What are you looking to do? Developers are similar, but they're also a lot different. And so when I'm talking to a new builder and I'm out making my phone calls, building new relationships, what types of lots are they looking to purchase is the first thing I want to know. Do you build single family houses? Do you build townhomes? Do you build ADUs? What's the product that your company builds most? Do they do large short plats? Will they buy a piece of land, large piece of land, entitle it, get plans and permits, and then build it out? That's a much bigger, longer project. Those are three different buyers, you guys. They're all builders, but they buy differently. It's what their teams are set up for. A townhome builder has teams and they're cost efficient about townhomes. If they switch to large land, right, where they can build 10 units in Seattle as townhomes, but if they go try to buy the large piece of land, that's a different process. It's a different time frame. It's a different type of build. Their cost of production builders are a little bit different. they're not going to buy the same thing. And so you want to know, what are they looking to purchase? If I'm a broker in Seattle and I sell spot lots, and that's where my lead flow comes in, that's where my deals are coming from, tear down houses where I can tear down, build something new. And I'm talking to a builder that only wants short plat, where they want to buy 2 acres of land, build 30 homes there. That might not be my bread and butter. I might not get that much deal flow there. I might not work those neighborhoods as hard. It's not the builder I'm going to focus the most amount of time on, or I have to go find that product and focus the time and energy there. And depending on what I got going on, depends on how much effort I'm going to put into it. So depending on what you offer in your area, do you have houses that are teardowns? Are they short plats? Are you more rural? You do short plats. If you're in city, you do density and townhomes. Focus on where the traffic is. Where's the most amount of land deals going on? What's being built most? That's where you'll get the most amount of deals done. The next thing I want to know with the builders, what's your time frame that you can close on a lot? Can you buy a piece of land or a tear down house in 30 days, permit it, and then build it? Do you have to wait to close on the property until you have permits? The reason this is important is the type of deals I'm going to send them. If I have a client, a builder, that goes, hey, look, I buy land, I pay good money for it, but how I need the deal structure is to close on permit, because the builder doesn't want to buy the property, sit on it for 6 months, 9 months, then wait for permits, and then build it for another 12 to 18 months. It's too long of a deal. And so they're looking for terms where a seller will let them get permits prior to closing and get paid a little bit better. I'm not going to be sending on market deals to that client that needs permits. If I have something on market that I'm looking at that's a great piece of land, great developable, but the seller listed it for sale today. They want to sell it in the next 30 to 45 days. If I'm offering a long close at 9-month close to close on permits, that might not meet what the seller wants. They hired a broker, they want this thing gone now. The odds of me transacting on that are very, very low. And so that opportunity pops up. I'm going to call the builders that can close quick. Some builders, as long as they're getting the right deal, will say, you know what, I can close without permits as long as the margin's there. And they might close a lot faster if they get in the good discount. And so that's really important on the types of deals that you're doing, on what the terms are. If I'm working with an off-market seller and they're cool moving in 12 months, I'm going to call my builders that want to get permit closes, because they'll pay more, they'll get the better terms, and it makes it more easier for me to transact. What are your typical timeframes that you need for feasibility? As I'm talking to wholesalers, brokers, sellers, looking at deals on market, you know, a builder, when they're purchasing a fix and flip investor, they might want like a 2-day inspection where they say, hey, I'm going to write this offer. I need a 2 to 5 day inspection so I can get contractors through, verify the information. Or a lot of investors like myself will even waive inspection on a fix and flip. Land is different. You don't know what's in the soil. You don't know what the setbacks are. You don't know if there's anything in the way, like a tree. Is there an oil taking ground? They have to go through a feasibility study to find out where their lot lines are with the survey. Is the soil good? Is there any drainage work needs to be done? Are there any street improvements to be done? They have to verify these costs. These costs can range dramatically on a builder. They could be a $10,000 cost or a $200,000 cost. So they need to check these things in order to close on the property, because they got to make sure that they don't buy a house that they can't build what they want there. These feasibilities typically take 10 to 14 days. Some of my clients can knock them out in 5. And so depending on who they are, what teams they are, and how long they need, you want to know what those timeframes are so you know what deals to look at and how to write them accordingly. Last thing I want to do is write a deal with a 5-day feasibility, and then all of a sudden the seller goes, okay, I'm good with 5. And then all my clients are like, I need 14. I have to go back to the seller, talk to him about why I need more time. It looks me not, I don't look dependable. And so knowing your builder, knowing what they'll do and what they need will help you transact and keeps closings smoother. What is your ideal lot and location? What do you want to buy today in location? Do you want something on a corner? Do you want something with an alley access? What do you love most? What's the best perfect lot that we can put a bow on it for you on? I want to know that, because when I have that opportunity, a builder might pay 200 grand more than another builder because it's exactly what they want. What is the current demand for property? What's in your pipeline? What are you building now? Do you like those deals? Do you want more of those? And are you capable of closing a deal in the next 6 months? When are you looking to buy? That builder could give you two answers. They can say, no, I can't buy anything until I get through some of this product. They might say, well, I can't buy anything on a quick close. My cash is tied up. But if you can get me a long close at 12 months and close on permit, I could do one of those deals. So knowing what their current demand is and their capability are going to help you pair the right deals together. You guys always check in with your builders, get that buy box updated because it dictates exactly how they're going to offer and whether they can actually purchase or not. So when you're qualifying builders or investors and potential investors, not every investor is the same. Not every investor will give you an honest story. Are they willing to relist with you if you find them a good deal? I want to qualify who they are, what they're looking to do, and also do they value a partnership? Because some investors and builders, they won't give listbacks. And for me as a broker, if I'm going to give them this amazing deal, I'd rather give it to the client that wants to work with me on all fronts because it's a partnership. If I'm hooking them up with a great buy, I'm hoping they want me to do well as well. And so it's this long-term partnership. Now, sometimes when I'm qualifying a builder and talking to them, they could be a large builder and they're good people, they got great systems, and they don't give listbacks. And the reason they don't give listbacks is they have a production sales team. They have a certain process. If I jump on as a broker, I'm not going to mix well with that team. It could jeopardize how they do deals and jeopardize their flow, which could jeopardize a sale. With those builders, a lot of times they'll give me consideration or referral fee on the listbacks. And it may still be advantageous to work with that company, but I need to plan ahead and what kind of deals that I'm looking for. There's definitely a couple builders I work with that don't do listbacks. And the reason they don't is they're short plat builders. They sell 10, 20 homes at a time. They have a production team. They want people on site. For me to be on site or have my staff on site, it's actually not great for my company either. It slows them down. And so it's not a really good mix for how they're going to sell it. But they also develop large pieces of land, and my spot lot builders that give me list backs don't do that. And so when I have that opportunity, I can still transact. They're still going to give me a referral fee on the listing, so I can still make some money and I can focus on what I'm good at and also make sure that the client is taken care of. And you guys, when I'm talking to investors, it's not just about what they want to buy, how much cash they have, what their experience is. I want to also know about like their integrity. What's their length of career? Do they value long-term relationships? Or are they just trying to get a deal done, move on to the next person? What's their liquidity? Are they capable today of buying or are they not? And then what's their experience level? If they're a brand new builder that's starting their first couple sites, they might not quite understand the costs. They might not enjoy it. You guys have seen plenty of flippers go builders that go back to flipping, or a builder that tries flipping, they go back to building. And so, we want to know what their experience is because if I have a brand new builder that's going to be aggressive, but they never built in our market before and their costs explode, and I spent all this time and energy trying to find them a lot of deals, it just might not be going anywhere. And so, the more experienced the builder, the more dependable are, the more dependable their offers are. It's always good to be connecting with the people that have been doing this a long time. Also, you guys, they work great as mentors, right? There's a lot of my clients that have been building for 30, 40 years, twice as long as my whole career. I can call them, get feedback on things, get their opinion on things. They help me out because they want me to find them better deals and we build a good relationship. They do this with experience, you guys. The more deals you do, the more lessons you learn. Those lessons can be passed down. So these clients have been around for a while. Your experienced flippers, your experienced builders, don't forget, you know, can they add value to you and help you with your business as well and help educate you so you can be more of a sniper type broker? The more experience you have in our business, the more you're going to transact. So don't forget, connect with those builders, not just about making money and doing deals together, but get those mentorships going. Again, some of my favorite clients have been building a long time and they always give me the time when we connect, and it's really made a difference in my career. So communicating after the relationship, we've been talking about how to narrow your buy box. How do you communicate with those builders? How do we narrow them down? But there's also the communication after you land them as a client in that process that you can really fumble and lose that client. You can have a great initial conversation, get their buy box, and then you really want to be professional from there, you guys. The less fluff and BS a builder has to deal with, the better. They're busy. They don't have time to burn. When people call me up as an investor, I'm like, hey, I got this beautiful house. It's got this amazing kitchen. The yard is fantastic. The school, I'm like, this is all good things. And I appreciate it. But can you just tell me what's the price? Do you have pictures? What's the time frame? What do you think it's worth? And let me dig into it because it's all about the math. And once we get close on the math, then we'll talk a little bit about terms and what we're looking at. But I don't need all the fluff. I don't need to be sold the layout of the house. I'm going to put the layout that's going to make it the most profitable. And so communicating, people call me time to sit there and chit chat about a house on the phone. So when you start meeting with these clients and builders, start communicating, establishing it with the right way. Send over example deals and opportunities to narrow buy box. When a client comes in, we meet someone, they want to get going. We send them some recent deals that we just sold to clients and go, hey, would you have been interested in this? Why or why not? Would you have been interested in this? Why or why not? By narrowing their box, then we can get them to convert a lot faster. You guys, clients need clarity as well. Once you meet with those clients, call and update and check in with them on their investment sourcing status. My bigger clients, the clients I talk to regularly, I kind of find out what they're looking for. If we can't find much, we kind of explain why and also educate them on why we can't find it. And maybe they need to make some adjustments so they can transact. Update buying criteria with investors. The reason we make those phone calls is you guys, investors change their mind. They hear a new podcast, they find a new contractor, they find a new resource. They'll start buying things differently very, very quickly based on their resources and their education. If you don't know what they want to buy today, it's hard to transact. If they have a hot new thing they want to get after, they're going to be eager to get into, it's the best to focus on those types of deals. So always be updating that buying criteria when you check in with them monthly. Don't spam your clients with emails that don't have impact. We don't send out all the holiday emails. We don't send them deals they don't want to look at. We don't send them promotional things that they don't want to look at. The more stuff we send them, the cloudier conversation hits. I know it's kind of like token. Always send out those holiday emails, and we do a couple, but we don't do them all. We don't need. I don't. You guys might email floods with Happy 4th of July's from brokers, wholesalers, title reps. And honestly, it's nice gesture, but it clogs my email box. I miss things. I don't enjoy them. So, and sometimes I just hit spam because I can't get them anymore on this drip. And then all of a sudden they want to get a hold of me and it's harder to get a hold of me. So don't spam your clients. Send them stuff that will have impact. You guys, the communication is key, right? Listen to your clients, get them what they need, help them be efficient, get more deals done. So overall, you guys, investors, they don't want fluff. They need facts. They don't want to hear, oh, the buyers really enjoyed the tile, but they moved on to something else. They want to know, why isn't it selling? Is it days on market? Is it price too high? What are their buyers' objections with the property? Is it just not the right fit and you got to wait for the right buyer? But give them that, always speak to them in facts rather than fluff. I'm selling a property or sending one to an investor. It's never like, oh, I really like this one. It feels warm and fuzzy. That's not what we say. Or it looks like a good price. We want to say it is a good price because here's the price. This is what the comps are. And if you do this, you should be able to achieve that same value rather than, hey, this looks like a great deal. That doesn't sell things. And so always think about, be to the point, be factual, back up your facts. And that's how you transact a lot easier. Have an opinion based on the data results and market activity that you're seeing. Hey, we put a value. We think if you do this type of scope of work, it's going to be worth 400 grand. By the way, the last 3 homes that sold all sold for 5% over list price and sold in the first 7 days. So there's a good indication that you're going to hit 400,000 plus. That is giving them the stats that's backing up to my opinions, that they can look at that and go, that makes sense. That's what the trend's doing. But I'm not telling them, I think you're going to sell this. We think the value is 400, but I think you're going to sell it for more because it's just got a great floor plan. That's not a fact. That's an opinion. And so, always be direct, always have an opinion on the data that you're sending them. Don't just send over data, interpret it for them. And as a professional, what do you think? And they'll give you feedback on. Stay ahead of the communication. If the client is reaching out to you, you're too late. It means you don't value them. And so always stay ahead of them. Shoot that text off, shoot that email off before they reach out to you. And then direct feedback with action plan and solutions are what get a deal done for an investor. They want to talk intangibles. Here's the property. If you do this, the solution will get you to this value. Or your house isn't selling. I think we need to restage the property. Right now, we need to leave price alone because things are selling, just taking a little bit of time. Buyer activity is slow. Let's be patient. Or the market's declining. We got to cut price. So those are things that we always want to back up with stats. And again, no fluff. Keep it professional. Keep it pleasant. Always be excited, but give them the right information because that's how you get investors to kind of make decisions. So now that we kind of covered how do you talk to investors, the questions to ask, We're going to go over the basics of packaging your deal and the general information of how you communicate deals to investors for just general information. On week 3 next week, we're going to be going deep into underwriting, how to underwrite a flip property, a development deal, and how to use the calculators with it and go through the steps that will give you the information for how we're going to package this up. So we're not going to go too deep in the underwriting. That's going to be talking about more with our off market and acquiring properties. But when you're packaging a deal, the best thing you can do is have clarity for an investor. They don't need fluff. They don't need lack of information. The more information you give them that are proved with facts, the faster they'll make a decision. Typically, we make one phone call or 2 phone calls and send 1 email with a deal outlay to place that deal. Why? Because the information is concise, it's clear, all the information's there, and we're sending it to the right buyer that we know. So when you're packaging your deal, a clearly laid out investment package is going to allow an investor to make a quick decision on a purchase. Time kills all deal. If they need to investigate more things, it's going to take up time and you can lose the opportunity. Clearly laid out information will help your investors make a quick decision. We want the decision today or in the next hour. Sometimes it's in 30 minutes. We got to make that decision. Again, time is key in this business. When we're sending out a property information, what investors really want to see is they want to see all the property information. What are they working with now? They want to have access to all the data information. They want to be able to click it, look at it, interpret it. They want to know what the current layout is and proposed layout to maximize the value. They want to have copy of the comps, any stats that we're sending them. If we think it's worth this price, here's the data that backs that up. Pictures of the property. More is better, you guys. Our job as a broker is to make it time efficient for the client, but also ourselves. If I have a lack of photos or lack of information, I'm sending investors out to go meet me there. I'm spending 3 to 4 hours at this property walking investors through, and it could have been just the wrong house for them to walk through in the first place because it might need too much work, might have some deal breakers in there for them. And so we're a firm believer that we send out 50 to 100 photos to the client. So by the time they're walking through that property with me, they can make a quick decision so we can get that thing contracted or get the deal moved. There shouldn't be a whole lot of surprises when they get there. Because if they've looked through the photos and they want to schedule a walkthrough, they're 99% already committed to the deal. And so the more information you provide, don't be afraid to provide it, just drive it head on. If I got a house with a broken foundation, here's all the pictures. This is what's going on. This is what we think it might take to fix it. But investor, be aware of this because it's a tougher project. And then we attach a pro forma. This is why I like to know the debt the investors are using. If my investor's getting 10% money, I put that in the pro forma. If they're getting 12%, I put that in the pro forma, and we'll break that down more in the underwriting. So when we send off this information, here's like a quick snapshot, you guys. We don't make it it's not too fancy, but it's clear, right? They can see on the right-hand side, you can see, okay, this is what we're sending to them. The existing layout. The effective year built is 1962 on this house. It's a 2-bed, 1-bath house. It's built was 722 square feet in size. The lot size is 2760 and the garage is 516 square feet. So now I know as an investor, hey, this is a 2-bed, 1-bath. Probably not going to get much more out of that. It's on a small lot at 2,700 square feet, but it's got a nice big garage at 516 because normal is 440. And also as an investor, I'm like, well, can I reclaim part of that garage and put it into the square footage? That might be attractive to me. And then what needs to be done on the inside? Exterior paint, front, back entryway, new roof, interior paint, new millwork doors, engineered flooring, new electrical heaters, updated electrical fixtures, update laundry area. This was all created not on our opinion. It's based on age of materials in there. The furnace is bad, it's bad. But it's what does the comps have? And as we, when we create that after floor plan, or what do they need to do? We come up with that by pulling data, houses. What are selling for the most? What amenities do they have? And then that's the proposed floor plan that we're going to bullet point out. You need to get it to this cosmetic level. You need to add this bedroom. You need to add this bathroom to achieve this value. But it's very concisely laid out what the price is, what we think that estimated renovation cost is, and you don't have to put that in there, but if you ballpark it, that's always a good thing. And then the after repair value. From there, they're going to get all the information that backs it up. So in our deal emails, we always put that general description of the property. Here's what the property is. It's a fix and flip. It's a rental property. This is why it's a good investment. We keep it very tight. We don't need to write 1,000-word marketing. Details of the current property status. What, we like to list out: bedroom count, bathroom count, finished square footage, unfinished square footage, any notable building specs. Does it have a barn? Does it have a detached garage? Is it on an oversized lot? Is it on a corner lot? Anything that's additional information that could add or subtract value. And then never hide the negatives. Recently, we just sold a deal to an investor. It's a great buy. And it looked like an even better buy on paper. But then the thing next door is that it was one of the ugliest neighbors I've ever seen. That, not the person, the house. It was terrible. And what we wanted to address that. Hey, we think the value was at, I think it was 700,000 for this house. All the comps were showing 750 to 799. So by putting that value at 700, we said, hey, we deducted the value nearly 10% at 700 because of the neighbor. And then we also said in the scope of work, they need to add a bunch of screening trees to help hide that neighbor. And so the negatives there, I don't want my client showing, I'm going, oh, what's this house? We've already showed it to them. They have the pictures. We put together the game plan and we gave the solution, which is price to get the house moved quickly. And so never hide the negatives, but have the plan. What as a broker, how am I going to market and sell this house? How can I fix this? Because I don't want to list a house next to this thing. So how do we make this look better? And, we added a little bit of budget for the rehab. We put in screening trees. Then we always want to add in the property info. What's the lot size, the zoning, the age of property, any environmental impacts, and then notable features. Does it have access to beach rights somewhere? Does it have an HOA with extra amenities? Does it have extra parking? Every comp has 2-car parking. We have 4-car parking. These are all things that are decision information that an investor can look at and go, okay, this is what I'm working with right now. Does this fit in my buy box? Then we always have a proposed on our email. What is highest and best use? We reference the comps for the scope of work. We do not put our opinion on it. We go, to achieve this value, we need to take this as is product and create this. The scope of work is simply, what does our house not have? Bullet pointed out that this house needs. If it's a 3-bedroom, 1-bath, and this is a 4-2, we need to make this a 4-bedroom, 2-bath. We need to do all the cosmetics to it. And by supplying that picture of comps, they can go through the photos and see what they need to achieve here. Details of highest and best use comp. We want to always put in our email, what is the proposed bedroom count? If that house is a 2-bed, 1-bath property, and to achieve a value that is much higher, we need to have a 3-bedroom. We need to have a 2-bath. So whatever the proposed to get it to the comp. Proposed finished square footage. If you're looking at a property that has an unfinished basement, maybe it's 1,000 square feet up, 1,000 square feet down. To achieve the highest value, you're going to need to refinish the basement, make it livable square footage with drywall, electrical, plumbing, add in these bedroom counts. That will get us to our value. Proposed any notable building specs. Again, how do we enhance that? Recently, we saw on one of comps that there was $150,000 to $200,000 value swing on a property if they built a 1-car garage. Huge value increase. And so we put that in the required upgrades. Hey, this deal is a great deal if you add this 1-car garage in. Based on that, it gets us the amenity that gets us the higher comp. If not, with no garage, it's worth this. And so always just bullet point out what needs to be done to achieve that value. Because remember, you're the listing broker. And when you sell that deal, you need to sell it for that price. You're going to look kind of bad and it's going to be very tense. And so, really bullet point that out. You don't need to make a complete scope of work. You just need to give the objectives to get you to that high value. And then the range of comps for different types of scope of work. When we send out comps in our comp link, let's say the house is a 2-bed, 1-bath, 1,000 square foot house. We could have comps selling at $1 million that were a 4-bed, 3-bath with a new finished basement that we can do on the house. And there might be comps at $899,000 that are just 2-bed, 1-baths and a cleaned up basement. By giving that range, you can talk about different scopes of work. And depending on who your client is, they might be able to get the cost done a lot more effectively on the minimum work or on the full scope of work where they're doing the whole thing. So depending on the client and their construction costs, they might want to go with the cheaper plan. I don't like to confuse investors a lot with giving them too many multiples. So typically we're giving the as-is comp, where it's the same floor plan or minimum floor plan change, the same bedrooms, the same bathrooms, and if they just do really a cosmetic and system update. The highest and best use comp will be where they maximize the whole square footage and every inch out of that property to achieve the higher value. Sometimes less is more, you guys. There's plenty of deals that I've done recently where people were looking at like the rehab's 200 grand because we got to do this. And I ended up doing it for 75,000 and selling it for a lot less and making even more money if you did the big reno. And so the reason it's good to give a range of comps, the investor can pick the plan that works best for their teams. Not every team works the same, but always give your suggested plan. Hey, we feel highest and best use is to do the full renovation and go for the $1 million. But you can also do it this way and get this price. Depends more on your construction cost. Let me know if you have any questions, what your costs are, and I can recalculate out the deal for you. But at the end of the day, the client has to pick what's highest and best use for them. And again, it comes down to that core cost. What's their goal? How fast do they want to be in and out of the deal? And what are the costs that are going to be associated with that? Because highest and best use is the most profitable plan. It's not for selling it for the most. And so give that information to the client so they can make a good question. I don't want to have too many openings where they go, well, what's it worth if I do less work? Then I got to repull CMA. It takes time. I can miss the deal during that time. Information that we always put in our deal blasts when we're communicating with investors. We put in active comps, whatever's in that is going to be active comp to us now. Is there 10 for sale? Is there 1? Is there 0? Are they pending? We put in any pending comp that's relative. These are the most relative comps in your market, not the solds. It's what is that house trading for today? It's the most real-time information you can see. Call those pending offers. How many offers did they receive? Are they pending above list? This is information that can really enhance a deal. There's plenty of deals that I've written up on in my life where everyone just looked at the pending and the sold comps and they put a value, let's say $1 million. By calling the pending brokers and we find out that they're selling for $1,050,000 or $1,001,000 and no one else made that phone call, that's the extra 100 grand in the deal that really made or break the deal, whether we get it done for the client. And so, and clients want to know what's currently happening in the market. If I get called on a deal and they're sending me pendings and they say, hey, every pending that we call all had 5 to 6 offers on it, I'm going to feel pretty good about being aggressive on that property. There's a lot of buyer demand. There's low inventory. A nice product sells for a premium and a lot of people want it. As an investor, I will buy that a little bit tighter because there's high demand. If you tell me that, hey, they had one pending, it's been on 60 days, they're 5% under list and they have one offer, I'm going to think that's a lower demand product. And I may want to buy that deal a little bit cheaper or make sure that the numbers are a little bit better. And so based on giving them that current feedback and real-time information, it can really make or break the deal. And then always have in the sold comps. You guys, in theory, you should have 3 sold comps. You know, you guys appraisers are going to pull this as 2 actives, 1 to 2 pendings, and 2 to 3 sold comps. With the lack of inventory right now, it's harder to get comps and data points. And so we'll break that down more in the underwriting. But no matter what, to come up with the value, I have to provide some sort of sold comp. And sometimes that sold comp is me in interpretation of the value, where maybe that house only sold for 400, but they had no garage. We have a 2-car garage. Based on us having a garage, I think it can sell for 425. I'm telling the investor, here's the information that proves the value. Here's the adjustment that I see for the amenity that your house has, and this is why I feel comfortable with this price. And so there always should be facts and logics that are coming through because that's how investors make decisions. They don't buy emotional, they don't buy on gut checks, they buy on facts and stats. Other information I like to add into our deal blast because it helps it again an investor make a decision. What's the average days on market? If I'm looking at a deal and every sold comp is 5 days, well, that tells me there's high demand. I'm gonna be able to sell it quick and keep my costs low. If the average deals on market are 90 days, it's going to tell me it's a slow market. It could be a longer deal, and I need to buy that deeper. List to sold ratio is a great thing to show an investor, especially if it's in a competitive market. Your investor's not getting a deal done, it's because they're not believing in the market. If every house that's sold in the last 5 comps sold at 105% of list price, that tells us that we're in an accelerating, appreciating market and there's upside in the deal. As an investor, if I see that, my minimum cash on cash return that I try to buy at is 35%. If I see that every home selling for over list, I might buy that at 30%, knowing that the house could go up in value. And so it allows the investor to make a decision and a quick decision. If there's a deal where everything's selling over list and I have 30 minutes to look at this deal, you bet I can jump on that and try to lock that deal down and make a decision quickly. What's the current inventory? Is there a lot of homes I'm going to be competing with? Those are things that flippers want to know and developers want to know. And then what's the absorption rate? The absorption rate is how many actives versus pendings. If a market has 10 homes for sale and 8 are pending out of 10, that's an absorption rate of 80%. It's moving quickly for that price point. If it's 2 out of 10, that means there's not a lot of buyer demand. And I might want to think about that deal a little bit differently. So all these little key facts allow me to make a decision quickly as an investor. And as a broker, that's our job, is to lay out those facts for everybody. So it's in a clean, concise information. They can read it and make a decision. The more ambiguous you are and less facts you are, the more questions they're going to have. More questions lead to more time. It's going to lead to more concern, lack of decision. And then someone like me is going to be selling the property rather than someone like you. So always be clear. And we're going to, again, break this down in the underwriting, how to lay that out. Decision information is what gets things done, right? We add in link to pictures. What am I looking at? Where's the spaces? Is this a right fixer or not? Is there a spread here? We always include a copy of the tax record information. We bullet point out the core information, but we provide that to the buyer because the buyer might have a different purpose for that deal and they see it a different way. Maybe the lot dimension's really wide and deep, and they think they can add a unit in the back, or they want to add a garage. By giving them the incomplete tax record information, again, they can read my bullet points. They can dig in deeper right there. We don't have to stop, request it, send it off. And then a pro forma. We send off a pro forma that the client can change themselves with their rehabs and their lending costs, and they can work the deal directly to go, does this deal make sense? How quickly do I need to move? So always put in, you guys, that core decision-making information. If you lay out the information correctly, you can get a quick decision. So after you got to know, you find the investors, you talk to them about their buy box, you send them the deal with information that is clearly laid out and underwritten correctly. The deal's not done. Once they close, remember, you have 2 or more sales coming up down the road. The customer service cannot be forgotten about. This is a huge gripe with investors and builders. They bought a deal off a broker and the broker's like, yeah, call me when it's done. As a broker, we want to give opinions and feedback during that process. It locks in the client, because you guys, if someone doesn't hear from you for 6-9 months, they might forget they need a list with you. So always stay in front of them, right? Protecting that list back. Your list backs are your main revenue source on these deals. The upfront commission assignment fees are great upfront, but you're building a pipeline, and that pipeline can pay you for an extended amount of time. Like right now, we have $140 million in list backs. I think it just went from 125 to 140. We know as a business that that's going to pay me over the next 12 months. If I don't offer a great list back service and people decide not to list, that's where I can jeopardize that pipeline, which I've already planned on feeding and staffed around. So we have to give a high level of service. That's really what makes or break, a client and how loyal they're going to be to you. You never want them to feel forgotten, right? That's a lead. That's a contracted lead. And so always take care of them. So once the property is closed, don't forget about them. You need to ramp up that customer service. Don't forget about your inventory, you guys. That's your pipeline, like we just talked about. So what do we do when a client buys a property? So how our team works, and this constantly gives the client good information that will help them lead to good decisions. Every month we pull a CMA and we set up the client on auto comps so they can stay informed on the conditions and values of the property. And this is really important to give your client the best experience so they can maximize the deal. A good example is recently, we had a plan out to a client, and the plan was to create a 4-bedroom, 2.5-bath house. We had good comps at 1.3 million. It was very profitable that way. We had the right spaces. We said, hey, that's what we think you need to do to achieve this value. Now, 4 weeks into the project, the client is framing the property. He's working on it. He's got his permits. There was 2 new comps that popped up in this specific area for 1.4 to 1.425. They didn't have 2.5 baths. They had 3 full bathrooms. They had a nice primary suite and 2 full baths. The 2.5 bath did not hit that number. And so that told us that, hey, we need to call the client, talk to him, go meet him out there and talk to him about taking this half bathroom and creating a full bath. And if we can do that, they have a chance to get $100,000 more with these comps. That's going to cost the client maybe $5,000 on this deal at most, probably more like, honestly, like $2,000, but let's say 5. By stopping the client and say, hey, I'd like to walk the property with you. I see some new information. Let me send you off these comps. I think if you add this tub, you can create $100,000 in value. That's a no-brainer for investor. If I can spend 5 to make 100, sign me up all day long. But by doing this, we're taking care of the client and it locks in loyalty. In addition to, you guys, when we're selling these properties, list backs are only good when your clients are making money. When they're not making money, they're going to want you to discount with them because it's an investment. And so we stay on top of the market to protect the client, but also to protect our revenue and our list backs. We want the client to be as profitable as possible because it also ensures our commission and another purchase of that client later for long term. And so always check what is the real time. Markets go up, they go down. When interest rates shot up dramatically and pricing came down, we called our clients, we met them there. We said, here's kind of the new values. It's not great news, but we think that you can reduce, we're looking at these new values. Instead of spending all this money on your kitchen and flooring, you can back it down a little bit, probably save $10,000 in finishes, and it'll help mitigate the loss in value. Or maybe there's a loss in value. We want them to do even more so they can maintain that value. But the investors are dependent on you for advice on real-time data. Now, it's up to them to implement it, but you want to provide them with the right information. So put it on CMAs. The more you know about that property, the more you are going to know about price, the more locked in your clients will be. You want to do bi-monthly job sites walks with your clients. Our team, and I'll go into how our team's structured in week 4, myself or my team, especially in the first 5 years, we go meet that client at least once a month on site, if not every other week, to see if they wanted my opinion on anything. To also volunteer my opinion. If I think they're doing something that could affect the resale, I don't want to tell them when the house is all done. That's too late to fix it. It's expensive that way. And so by knowing your product, you get to know your client better. It's a great time for me to talk about their goals. What are they trying to achieve? What I think I'm seeing at the property. And then giving them that real-time advice that guides them locks you in as a broker for life. Design input and layout input. We like to do our monthly walks or weekly walks too, because if the client puts the bathroom in the wrong spot and no one's going to want it there, then it's going to make it hard to sell that property. If they put in pink wallpaper everywhere and that's not the vibe of the neighborhood, that could be a problem to sell it. And so giving them that information in stats allows them to sell quicker, and it makes your job easier to sell. No one wants to put their sign in front of a house that looks terrible. And so, in our tools kit, you guys do have access to design sheets. If you're not good at design, that's okay. You can give them one of our copies and say, hey, we think the tone should be this way, or print the comps with the pictures and say, deliver it this way. But don't let them go too far off tilt with the finishes because they could be making bad decisions or they could be spending too much. Investors will do that all the time where they're going, well, it's only $100 here more. It's $500 here. And they start spending. And then by the time you go to list that property, they've overspent their budget by 30%. You need to sell the house for 30% more, and they spent the money in the wrong spots, which creates a tense situation. It's not enjoyable when a client's against the wall, they overspent. And so all these walkthroughs and inputs will help prevent them from going over budget and protect your commission. On listbacks, because just because you sold them a property does not entitle you to a 3% commission. That is the deal. The good thing about working with professional companies, right? Like when a broker brings me a deal or a wholesaler brings me a deal and there's a list back involved, I always do it because that's the right thing to do, or I cut them a check for that amount on closing. But as a large company, we kind of have our own thing. I want to hear from my broker, but I don't need a whole lot of their advice because I have my own plan that I'm going to put in play. When the broker never calls me, it's kind of a bummer, and I get a little bit annoyed because I'm like, well, you could have told me about the market. It's not a great relationship builder. But for your mom and pops investors, guys, or your developer, if you don't talk to them and you don't check in on them, when you go to list it, they're going to say like, you know what, I'm a little tight on this deal. I need you to do a discount because I've given you 2 sales. So the more service that you can give, the less people are going to want to hammer you on your commissions. You guys, a lot of people think brokers are overpaid, and you know what? Some are. I truly do believe that. But then there's the brokers that work their tail off and they communicate and they're giving updates and they're adding value. I have no problem paying that broker 3%. I'll pay him 6% if it's that much value. And so the more you communicate, the more it ensures protecting that pipeline, right? Like I have $140 million pipeline, or it's $125 million pipeline. If I don't protect that, that's a substantial amount of commissions I could lose. And so the more service you offer, the more feedback you offer, it protects you. Build your list back fees and services for what you want to offer. Now, there's nothing wrong with the list back service. Now, we offer a lot of service. We do the CMAs. We're staying in front of the clients. It's a lot of work. There is some brokers out there, and this works too. Like they sell a property and they just want to put a sign in the yard. They want to sell it, and then they will offer commissions to help out the client. The deal's a little tight. The client doesn't need a lot of work. And instead of doing a 3% list back, the deal works really well with a 1.5% list back, and that's what they go with. The benefit to that broker is they don't have to spend nearly as much time as we do going to job sites, walking with them, giving suggestions on design. They're really just doing the service to sell the house. And so they need to give a full listing service, but the middle part frees up time. And so there's an argument to be made that sometimes the 1.5% or 2% or 1% listing is a good thing because you don't have to communicate well. You can focus on getting that next deal, building that pipeline, and you're getting paid because the investor's getting a deal anyways. So build your fees around what you want to offer. If you don't need to do much and you get 3%, then charge that. But depending on who your clients are, what market you're in, build the fees around your time. If you want to give more time, charge more. If you want to give less time, charge less. And always go over these list back fees before they commit to the deal too. You guys, there's some builders I work with, they will not pay a 3% commission. My answer as a broker is, well, what price do you need this out to pay me a 3% commission? If I get that price done, are you good with it? I earn it, they're cool with it. If they're saying, nope, we're 2.5 no matter what, then that's just what we put in our performance. And it kind of tells us when to call a client, when not to. The more you want to be compensated, the better experience you need to offer, you guys, just like anything. I want to go to a nice restaurant. I want a good experience. I'm going to pay a little bit more. I want to fill up my stomach and move on with my day. I'm going to pay a lot less. And so, you know, just don't forget about your list backs in queue. Communicate, check in with them, give them data, do walkthroughs. My investor's out of town. Can we stop by, take photos for you, and send it off? Again, that more that locks it in to giving us the listing, and we don't have any conflict, and they don't really care about our pricing when we're given a great service. And so, explore, what do you want to commit? How much time you want to commit to it? Should you offer full service versus discount? There's no right or wrong way. For me to get that 3% fee, I have a big staff. I have a project manager that helps out with clients that will get them referrals on things. We have assistants. We have 3 listing brokers. That just costs more to run that business. And if I wanted to do 1.5% listings or 2%, and I knocked off a third, I could cut a lot of staff if I'm not doing all that middle stuff. And so design what works for you. For me, I actually want to give the client the best possible experience, which gives us way more hand holding. And that's why we do the 3%. It's not revenue all the time. And so that's my priority. It's actually probably easier and better for me if I do the discount and don't offer all those services because it frees up time. The more time I have, the more clients I can get, the more deals I get done. And so really evaluate, what are you good at? What do you want to do? And how much time do you want to commit? And then choose that service. If you want to just say, hey, I'm sending out deals, I want a 3% commission, then do that. And hopefully those all stick. Once the property is done, as brokers, it's our job to help the client get it to the finish line, right? Because the last thing I want to do is list a property that's half done or this dirty, this sloppily work. That's going to make my job harder as a broker selling that house. There's way more objections to deal with, way more opinions I got to deal with. So it makes sense for us to spend the time up front with the client. We'll spend 1/10 the amount of time making sure the house looks good and helping them with that process than we do by having to deal with a product that we are not proud of selling. And so when you're listing the property, things that we do for our clients, we always like to coordinate a pre-inspection if the client wants it. Some clients do not want an inspection. They don't want a pre-inspection. They have fixed every problem that they know about. They don't want to know about if there's any new problems. That's fine. We suggest that people do pre-inspect so we can negotiate well and get people to make quick decisions. And so if our clients want to do that, which I would say 85% of them do, we coordinate the pre-inspection for the client if they need it. We also are constantly reaching out to home inspectors and getting them volume pricing. Recently our guy was charging us $500, charging our clients $500 every time. And, we approached him and say, hey, look, we've been giving you so much volume. We have other home inspectors we talk to. We need it done for 350 now, because if we're giving you 100 a year, that's a lot of volume. We just need the discount. And you know what? You agreed to it. So now our clients are saving $150. It's cheaper than they find anywhere else. We're saving the money on our own projects, and it's a win-win for everybody. Because plus the inspector gets a lot of business volume. The more volume, the better price you better get. Professional photos. You guys know cell phone photos. They have worked on this house, spent a lot of time, energy, and sweat in that. Get the right photos done. Make them feel proud about it. They want to feel warm and fuzzy. You guys, renovating houses can be a difficult process. You got to go through all different types of things. Watch Project Flip. It will educate you to the max. The last thing a client wants to see is the house rolled out with some bad photos, bad angles, just not professional. It just takes away from all the hard work they put in. So always pay to have professional photos. And you guys price that out. If you have volume, our picture people, we have 2 vendors. They typically charge like $400 for houses. They do great photos. They give it to us at 250 because we give them nearly 100 listings a year. And even if we gave them 30, they would give us a discount. That stuff adds up. If we are selling and you get volume going, don't forget about your margins in there. At volume, if we're selling 120 houses a year, you times that by $150 savings on our photos, that's $18,000 that I saved just by negotiating a price on my pictures. That's $18,000 that either goes in my pocket or I can put it back in the business to make my clients more efficient and to really keep buying and expanding the business. Staging quotes. Now, some brokers include staging in their listing services for investors, and that's fine. I think that's a great thing. And if you're not given a lot of service in the middle, I think that's appropriate. I would do the same thing. Our team focuses more on the design and the hand holding, and we already over give services for our 3%. So we don't pay for the staging. But what we do is we get 3 quotes. We negotiate the best possible price with the best terms so that the client can see that we are saving them money. We send all 3 quotes, let them select, give them their feedback on what we think they should do. And again, we're not only just selling the house, we're helping the client be more profitable by saving them that money. And then assisting with the punch list, because everybody looks at a deal differently or a house when it's finished. Home inspector is going to look at it differently. The contractor will look at it differently. The client might miss some things, look at it differently. For us as brokers, we walk in and go, okay, what would a client push back on? What needs to be done? We take this app called Punch List. And there's a QR code you can scan right now. You guys, it's a great little app. I love it. I've been using it for probably 15 years. It's super simple. At some point, I'm going to make my own. So be on the lookout for that. But just because it's easy, I can go out there as a broker, take photos of what I see, put in notes, and go, hey, look, I would address this before listing because it's going to affect the presentation. By giving them a photos report and the notes, it makes it easy for the client to give it to their contractor and follow up on it to help get highest price out of it. So it just keeps it very clear. It's easy. And, as brokers too, when we're getting ready to list and it's go time, we're also going to have that report and go, hey, I'm going to put my eyes on it. Do I see anything that's missing? It's in your client's best interest to deliver a great product. It's in your best interest to be selling a great product. And so always be helping, always be assisting. And again, those little things if you save your client 1 hour by helping with the punch list, that's an hour that they probably needed to go negotiate a contract or find them, find another deal, whatever it is. But the more you free up on time, the more loyal they will be. So during the listing process, once we've punched out the house, the client's got it punched out. We give them our suggestions, we get them the staging quotes, the property goes live. We send out the client a link, and then from there, it's all about communication, guys. Because remember, investors use expensive debt. They are paying a lot. They're paying 12% interest. That's a high per diem rate. Check on the property weekly. Send the client property condition report. Every time we walk through, we send, hey, this is what we see. The heat's at this. It's clean. It's not clean. We suggest that you clean up the yard. You weed the beds. You blow out the yards. Let's put this on maintenance so it's presented well. They want to know that you're checking on the house and there's not cobwebs. So by sending out the report, it shows that you care. You can get that report in the tools kit. It's very simple, just a little checklist. The good thing is you can send an assistant out there. They can do it. And, we just do a little walkthrough on it. We update the client with market activity. We send out activity every Monday, all week. Any person that shows, we are calling them, we're texting them, we're getting emailing them, we are getting feedback from them. Why are they not writing an offer, or what would they write an offer at? We want to be able to provide that information to the client. So on Mondays, we send out a detailed showing feedback of, did we do an open house? How many people came? What was the general feedback? Out of the people came, how many were neighbors and were real buyers? Every listing that showed, what did the buyers think? What do they think of the design? What do they think on price? What's holding them back to getting an offer out? Maybe it's just not the right house. This is information that we don't sugarcoat. We send right to our client. Everyone hates the renovation. I'm going to tell you that. They don't like the bedroom size. Nothing we can do to fix that without renovating again. And so it's important to always, it's okay if things don't sell, but it's not okay if they sell and there's no communication. So every Monday we send that out, we get on the phone with them, we walk through it with them to let them know, as brokers, we're not just waiting for an offer, we're trying to drive an offer. And on Mondays, you guys, we burn the phones. Anybody we could not get on the phone or reply from, text or email, we are getting them on the phones, getting their feedback so at least we can get delivered to the client so they know we've done our jobs. You guys also talking to these brokers gets great feedback. Sometimes brokers won't write a deal because they're too afraid of something. They're like, well, they really want an AC, so we went to go look for a house with AC. What if my client will install AC with a full price offer? Oh, will they do that? Shoot, let's talk. Those are things, the communication, you guys, text and email only to brokers, not the greatest, right? You get some information, but getting someone on the phone, talking to them, getting the information out of them could help you sell that property faster. Provide detailed feedback weekly. How many showings did you receive? What is the feedback? What's the open house report? What do we need to do to get this property sold? How many showings are we getting? We also call all the actives in the area. Are they getting the same amount of showings, less or more? If they're getting 10 times more showings than us, then what's wrong with our property? Is it the property? Is it missing amenities? Is it price? Are we price too heavy? Those are feedback we want to give that investor on whether they should cut price or not. If we're getting 10 showings a week on a house and every other active's getting two and we haven't got an offer sold, that's going to tell me just stay tight, don't cut price, wait for that offer to come in. If I'm getting two and everyone else is getting 10, I got to do something. And it's either cut price, reposition it, or add an amenity. But either way, we're well below the standard. And when investors know that, they'll make decisions. When you give them that information, if we need to move price, we're going to move price. They're going to give me that acceptance on that. And so keep them in the loop and keep them informed. Now, closing a property, every delay on a property is lost profit. Every day that goes by, my average per diem rate on a house with hard money loan is $300 to $400 a day. Sometimes it's more. So communication is key for closing the property. Got to get it through that finish line. If the lender has a 4-day delay, that could be $1,200 to $1,500 on the investor. It could be $500, but either way, it's a cost against the bottom line. And the more you communicate and stay on that closing process, the less delays you have. Don't just think they're getting it done. Check with the lender, have a transaction coordinator, follow up to the process. Are all timelines being met? Can we prepare to close early? Can we prepare to close on time? Do we need to prepare an extension to extend it? Will the buyers help offset that cost? And the more involved you are in that process, the more you can get a buyer to maybe even absorb that cost. Maybe it's the lender's mistake. The lender needs to chip in, but over communicate to the client with a transaction coordinator. Every step in the contract that is being fulfilled is emailed and notified to that client so the client can prepare. The client wants to know what's going on, not only for cost, but when can they go buy that next deal and redeploy the capital. When you're setting up your closings, don't forget investors can get special rates in closings. With our title company, Fidelity National Title, they give us a $300 flat escrow fee for investors that do volume. I'm an investor, do volume. I can negotiate that. My clients get the same type of savings. And again, every dollar that I can save puts it back in the bottom line. It protects my list back and it makes the client more successful. The more successful your client is, the more locked in they're going to be. And then once they close, it's great news. On to the next deal. You can restart the process again. Sold them a flip property. We went through it. They sold it again. The quicker I put them back in a deal is the quicker my pipeline's built up. And so the smoother your deal, closing the deal, the quicker you will get paid and reload for another transaction. So we covered tonight, you guys, investors, how to communicate with them, how to find them, how to talk to them, how to scrub them, how to vet them. This is all important about that relationship building. You guys spend the time with clients, get to know their buy box, then reverse engineer what you're going to go look for. And we're going to talk about that next week. Next week, week 3, we're going to be talking about deal sourcing and underwriting, how to work with wholesalers, how to direct to seller, how to work with on-market deals, then how to analyze that deal correctly with good information, with my steps for how I underwrite a deal, how we deliver it to a client in that email format that we just referenced, so we can make a quick decision. The tighter your underwriting, the better you are as an underwriter to look at a deal, the more deals you can invent. And so, again, if you went through this real quick, re-listen to this, build the relationship, start figuring out what people's buy box is. Next week, week 3, we're going to figure out that solution for getting them inventory.